Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today I wanted to show you my Legacy of Kain game collection and my journey throughout the franchise. So I'll be going through each of the games. Try to go in order at first, but I could be going back to some of them depending on how I played them. So I'm also going to be telling about what I think about each game. So let's get on into it. So of course, the very first game I played was the Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. And when I first played it, I thought that it was a lackluster. I thought that it had nothing compared to the Japanese 2D RPGs that I played like Alundra. And then I basically sold my first copy to a friend. And then I got to know about Soul Reaver. And then when I saw the title, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, and I was like, oh, they made another game? And it's a different character, but they used the same name. I checked who made it, and it wasn't Silicon Knight, so I basically just moved on right away. And then they released Soul Reaver 2 for the PlayStation 2. I saw this game being sold in a store. I haven't seen any trailers, and this is a 2001 game. YouTube was not even a thing back then. It didn't come out until like 2005. I was so intrigued by it that I bought it, and then the first thing I wanted to find out was whether it had any connection to the first Soul Reaver game. And yes, it did. What surprised me even more was how Kain was shown and mentioned several times in the game. So I got intrigued and I was asking myself if this was connected to the first Legacy of Kain game, which was Blood Omen. So I stopped playing Soul Reaver 2, and luckily I had a copy of Soul Reaver 1 for the Dreamcast, and it showed Kain sitting on the pillars, and I had vague memories of the pillars being mentioned in Blood Omen 1. So I said, these games are definitely connected. So I stopped playing Soul Reaver 1 and miraculously got a copy of Blood Omen 1 and then played through it. I gave Blood Omen 1 another chance. I remember that the last time I played, I reached the part where you get the wolf transformation. I began appreciating the game for what it is, including the great voice acting. Bay Victor! I especially love the part when you drink from the blood fountain.
The blood of ages flows so sweet. Come, drink from us.
And then the game became totally badass for me when I got the double axe and eventually the flaming sword. There is also an especially overpowered weapon in this game. I wonder what that is. So I eventually finished Blood Omen 1. Not very satisfied about the ending, so naturally I had to play Soul Reaver 1 on the Dreamcast. Yeah. Well, I was aware that there was a PS1 version, which was this one. But the Dreamcast version was superior in many ways. My fun was cut short though as I encountered a bug in the game that made Raziel fall endlessly. So naturally, I had to switch to the PS1 version. From the opening scene to the gameplay, it was a more blurry, much slower, and much stuttery version of the game. But I carried on anyway. I was already in love with the narrative as well as the voice acting. I also liked how they animated Raziel in this game, especially when he's moving boxes. I also liked how his Reaver got enhanced over time. That brought a good sense of progression, which brings me to Soul Reaver 2. Soul Reaver 2 is probably the pinnacle of the series storytelling. Blood Omen 1 and Soul Reaver 1 were pretty good, but Soul Reaver 2 brings it to another level. Obviously, the graphics is way better since the developers didn't think about running the game in a 32-bit system anymore. But I was very bummed with this game because I had to collect all the power-ups all over again, when I already did that for Soul Reaver 1. In terms of gameplay, I can't really say if Soul Reaver 2 was any better than Soul Reaver 1. I feel like Soul Reaver 2, however, is what pieces Blood Omen 1 and Soul Reaver together. So in terms of narrative, voiceover, and plot, this particular installment probably had the most impact to me. The PS2 disc also contained some bonus material, so I could see the voice actors at work for the first time, which was really cool. So I talked about Blood Omen 1, Soul Reaver 2, and now it's time to talk about Blood Omen 2. This installment features a young vampire Kain, slightly older than Blood Omen Kain, but younger than Soul Reaver 2 Kain. I believe it's still Simon Templeman voice acting Kain here. This is probably the coolest design Kain ever had as a vampire. He looks very badass in the title screen. I think this game was, however, done by a different development team, so it feels and plays very different than the previous games. I would go as far as saying the installment was probably the ugly sister. It's not as good as the other ones, but we loved it anyway. And so we come to Legacy of Kain, Defiance. This game came out in 2009 and it was the last Legacy of Kain game we got. Square Enix got the rights to the game but did nothing with it. Anyway, Michael Bell and Simon Templeman reprises their roles as voice actors for Raziel and Kain respectively. Tony J, may he rest in peace, also comes back as the Elder God. And what can I say? This game was insane. You get to play Raziel and Kain. The gameplay is now similar to Devil May Cry, which means you can juggle opponents in the air and be creative about how you kick their asses. The game also doesn't fall short plot-wise, and while it leaves me longing for a sequel, I would say it gives a satisfying ending. I would also say that Defiance is probably the best that a Legacy of Kain game looked good visually. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2 is bound to get a remaster release this December. So these two games right here, I hope that you guys will support them and buy them on the digital versions. Thanks for watching this video and I'll see you next time.